Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to welcome you to Elombah television tonight. Today, we are discussing a very important topic, the death of General Atahiru Ibrahim, implications, effects on the Nigerian military. To discuss this topic with us tonight are two retired military officers who fortunately are also now engaged in the legal profession. We have Mr. Peter Ozoagu Esq. Mr. Ozoagu, you are welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure.
We also have Mr. Casmir Nwafor Esq. Mr. Nwafor, you are also welcome to the program.
Thank you, Dan.
Coincidentally, Mr. Ozoagu and Mr. Nwafor are both retired captains, and they are now in the engaged as legal practitioners based in Nigeria. So 3 days ago, Nigerians were shocked that the chief of the army died accidentally in a plane crash, an aircraft belonging to the Nigerian Air Force. Mr. Ozoagu, how did you feel when you received the news, having served in the military?
Mr. Elombah, it's my pleasure once more. Sincerely, it was shocking. But before I start, let me use this opportunity to send my sincere and kindest condolences to all Nigerians, to the President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, and to the entire Nigerian Armed Forces, and the Nigerian Army in particular, over the death of this illustrious son of Nigeria, an army officer who have come to make a mark on his own. Though short lives, but his names will remain in the sands of time. I say this because it was really shocking, especially with the people that died along with him. Permit me to say that Major Hamza, I know him very, very well. Like Wednesday or so, I spoke with him and we are just talking. We joked and talked and laughed. And he was even telling me that Friday we are coming back or something like that, only to hear that Major Hamza was involved in the. Immediately I heard that plane crash, my mind went to it because I know the position is occupying. So, Elombah, I'm still pained. It's shocking. And really, I extend my condolences to all concerned. Thank you for now.
All right. Yes, before we go to Casmir, just for clarification, who is Major Hamza, please, if you don't mind?
Major Hamza is the SO1, the finance officer to Chief of Army Staff.
So he was also traveling with the Chief of Army Staff in that aircraft that crashed and he died.
You can see his name is listed in the manifest among those people that died.
All right. Okay. Mr. Nwafor also, how did you feel when you got the news?
Brother, it was a very shocking news because if you know the Chief of Army Staff very well, he started from the very scratch as a second lieutenant to Major General and Lieutenant General eventually. He was a student, an instructor, battalion commander, brigade commander. He was everything one can think of in the military. And more painfully was the demise of Brigadier General Olayinka, the provost marshal. And when I was in the army, he was our chief of staff of the corps, and later was the school commandant, and then became the provost marshal. A very nice officer. Same thing with General Abdulkadir. General Abdulkadir was a lieutenant colonel when I was serving in 2D. In 2008-9, he was SO2 then as a lieutenant colonel. So you can, these two of them have gone a very far way, very far with them, both personally and professionally. So it was a very shocking news to hear that two of them were equally involved in the crash. But more importantly was the pain because of the, when we go on, we get to know who the chief of army staff was and the stuff he's made of, that I thought if he had stayed longer, this issue of terrorism would have been more handled effectively, just like the former Korea said, that the man will have surprised the country. Definitely, I know he will have done that. And that is why I'm very pained, because his death, I will tell you, will have a very big impact on the fight against insurgency, because he was there for years with them. At least he has been able to study and know the grounds. So now that he's now given charge, and for him to now execute his plans, this sad event happened. It's very, very bad. It's just sad.
Okay. Well, it's painful that both of you knew people who died in that crash. For us, and for many Nigerians, it's just another statistics. But for you two gentlemen, you knew people in that crash who did not survive. Sadly, what does it show that within 3 months, Nigeria has had how many air crashes now? Do we know?
About three.
About three. Yes. And with the loss of about 17 military personnel, isn't it?
Yes.
So, Mr. Ozoagu, what does that say about the Nigerian military in which you served? Does it say anything to you?
Elombah, accident can always happen. But ever before even I go on, my colleague the other side have remembered me of General Olayinka. Permit me to say, I came to the military police as a lieutenant and met Olayinka as a major. I was in Special Investigation Bureau and he was our camp commandant in Apapa then. We lived together in transit camp. So let me use this opportunity to send my sincere condolences to the wife. In fact, I know the wife. We are together when he just got married. I know his younger brother, who is equally a military police officer. So my condolence goes to them and every other person. Now to your question, it's devastating because what it shows is that within 3 months, one may continue to ask what are the causes, the effect, and the implication. On the other hand, we begin to think, in as much as we cannot say professionally about the aircraft, but it goes on to show the level of training and all whatnot, how we have men and material resources are being deployed these days. From what I see, the young men that are pilots in that aircraft, to me, I still stand to be corrected, seems to me to be too young for that kind of assignment. This is my candid opinion.
Why do you say that they're too young?
If you look at,
is it young in age or young in experience?
If you look at, that is what the two goes together. The experience, if you look at them, they are flight lieutenant, which is captain equivalent. From analysis or calculation, they may not have served up to 15 years from the army, considering from the time they passed out from Nigerian Defense Academy. Take away how many years they went for training to become a pilot, then how many years left for them to now have flied as a pilot, not to talk of occupying the #1 position of flying the chief of army staff. They are young men in their 30s. So I'm thinking for one to be that in the experience counts and the years, you can't take it away from anybody. But notwithstanding, it is a different thing If it is a fighter pilot, you ask them to go and fight, throw bomb and what have you. But this one, you are carrying passengers. The experience self that at their age, they are flying the chief of army staff can make them go haywire. But be that as it may, or has happened, we still have to call for training upon training upon training, because there is no two ways to it. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Nwafor, do you wish to comment further on what Mr. Ozoagu has said? If not, what does this frequent aircraft crashes tell you about the state of the Nigerian military today? You can choose to either two questions. One.
Yeah, I think I will add to what my friend, Prince Ozoagu probably happens to be a schoolmate in Oka. I was my senior too in the army. I think he's right by what he said about the issue of the age of the pilots. But be that as it may, when you talk about the age, I don't know how many years they have flown aircraft, that kind of aircraft. Sometimes, if it is 3-4 years, it's okay, or 2 years. Sometimes, you know, the chief of army staff doesn't always frequently travel. So it's not every time that they will fly. So most times experience matters, because when you fly this month, maybe you don't fly again in the next 3 months, you know, something goes out of, just like language. If you are not steady in flying, not steady in flying, if there are pilots driving maybe Arik Air, you know that every day you're almost on the air. That means that one, you can say is getting kind of experience. But apart from that, we look at our maintenance culture too. You know, the maintenance culture is equally a factor. Because most times, even our vehicles, most times you see our vehicles on the road, you see how they push our vehicles to start, how they do this and that. So sometimes you will not rule out the issue of lack of adequate maintenance of the aircraft, because maybe the chief army staff doesn't travel frequently by air, and maybe you don't know when last the plane was serviced, and all what. To have three aircraft of the military planes in 4 months the issue of age, yes, but we should look at our maintenance culture of our equipment. I think that is another factor that might have contributed to the crash.
But so far, the Nigerian military authorities have not revealed to Nigerians what caused the air crash, have they?
But they can't. They have even assigned investigation to civil aviation authority. Because if you say let the military investigate, you may be afraid that they may have one or two things. But it's good the way it was handed over to the civil aviation experts to investigate, so that they'll be able to find out actually what really happened. Because this is one accident, one crash too much, too many. We can't continue like this. If it is the fault, if the plane is the fault, let them do away with that Beechcraft airline. Then if it's our maintenance culture, then let us improve and know that we should be able to maintain our equipment regularly. Then if it is the age of the pilots, then let them get people of more, because one rank, more in rank, maybe a colonel or a lieutenant colonel can fly. So if they can get those ones, then it's okay.
All right,
so what happens is that,
okay, go ahead.
What happens is that in the military like this, there is an age, there is a rank you may reach, you may not be flying again. That's the problem I'm noticing about this now. Like my friend was saying that they are too young. You may see that maybe colonels maybe they don't fly. Maybe it's only that rank of captain and major equivalent that fly because of their. Because when you are lieutenant colonel or colonel, you have highest responsibility to be in the field or in the offices. So they leave this flying for the younger and early senior officers, maybe captain majors. So you may not see a colonel even flying. It may be an airport, and it may be a pilot, sorry, but he may not be flying again because of other responsibilities given to him. So you are left with these captains and majors to fly.
All right, as you are aware, this topic will lead us to the effects of this death on the Nigerian military. So to move to that area, what type of person is General Atahiru Ibrahim? Mr. Ozoagu, let's start with you.
Fortunately, unfortunately, I have not worked with him directly. But from all I heard, he's a gallant soldier. He was in the theater of operation ever before he became the Chief of Army Staff. And becoming Chief of Army Staff, you can see the gallant nature in him and the way to which interact, the mark that he's bent to make. He launched himself into the theater of operation. And from what we saw, he was physically there, giving the morale to the soldiers and officers. That speaks volume. I'm sure to those officers and soldiers who were there that day when he was motivating them, giving them all sorts of encouragement, and giving them all manner of assurance that he will be with them and stand with them at all times. When they realize, if they now realize that just 3 weeks this thing happened or thereabout, that today the man who has promised them all this they have been with is no more, it will speak volume on them. It's bound to one or the other that from their morale.
Yes, but
and even to the insurgents,
go ahead.
Even to the insurgents, the other people that they are trying to win the war, those people, they might have sent a very serious, dangerous signal to them. Look, something must have changed. There is so. When they hear now that, see what is happening, the man to whom I were all respecting and fearful is gone. Well, you never can tell. There may be growth, insecurity, and those a lot of things to bear.
All right, let me also ask this question to Mr. Nwafor. Thank you very much, Mr. Ozoagu. 3 years ago, the previous Chief of Army Staff sacked this General Atahiru Ibrahim, the late Chief of Army Staff, from his position as the head of operations against Boko Haram. That time, Nigerians assumed, because the army never really tell you why they take certain action, but Nigerians generally believed that it was because of incompetence and the way Nigerian army were not really making any headway in the fight against Boko Haram. What does it say that just in January this year, the person that was sacked 3 years ago was now appointed by the President Muhammad Buhari to be the Chief of Army Staff? Does it say anything to you, Mr. Nwafor? Is Casmir with us? No? Is Mr. Nwafor still with us? Okay. Let me point out at this point that there are also some previous military officers that I noted in this forum. Just give me one more patience, I'll call on you to speak, but let me interact more with our invited guest today, and then I'll call you up. I see your hands up there. Mr. Ozoagu, does it say anything that 3 years ago, the person who was sacked was now appointed?
Mr. Elombah, I have to collect one impression.
Okay.
I will not buy your language as to be sacked, because that word connotes a lot of things legally and otherwise. But if you say he was redeployed or he was posted, then I can buy that militarily. Because in the army, there are many circumstances to which an officer can be deployed at any given point in time. The deployment of an officer is at the prerogative of, at that level, at the Chief of Army Staff. So there are more to it to which we cannot say as at this moment why that action was taken. But all we know is that since it was taken by the chief, it is taken in the best interest of service and the division at that particular point in time. So I wouldn't buy the idea that it was sacked.
All right.
Moreover, 3 years ago, what has metamorphosed 3 years ago to now is enough to have mutated into. So appointing him as Chief of Army Staff, I don't see anything wrong in it. Many things must have happened. Even assuming but not considering that he was removed there for one reason or the other, that must have gingered him and invigorated him to have metamorphosed into many things to now make him more qualified. And remember, he had the experience. He was there in the theater of operation. So those things count. But to say he was sacked, I cannot buy that idea completely.
All right, I thank you. Before I go to Mr. Nwafor, who is now back, who I don't know how he was muted in the first place, but before I go to Nwafor, I noticed there was a post shared by one of our listeners, one of our meeting attendees who is here in our meeting. Civilian pilots are often at their optimal level, normally by the age of 30. Do you have any comment on that vis-a-vis what you said about the flight lieutenants flying the chief of army staff being maybe inexperienced or too young? Just briefly, I wouldn't want us to dwell on that, but I just want to see if you want to say anything before we proceed.
What I have to tell you, remember I said that I'm just talking from my own humanist angle. I'm not talking professionally because I'm not a pilot. But the truth is that from experience, a flight lieutenant seems to be too young in rank for him to fly that kind of person. It used to be what we know is we're going to hear about squadron leader Martin Luther, squadron leader these are majors and above. And at that level, you have gained much experience. You must have served above 15 years or what have you, and he has gained more experience. That is my take, and that is aspect I'm saying. And remember, I told you there is a difference in flying fighter pilots and flying passenger pilot, especially the one flying.
Okay. For us who are not initiates, so a squadron leader or a major is senior in rank to a flight lieutenant. Is that correct?
Of course. Of course.
All right. Okay, Mr. Nwafor, there was a question. Well, I have been corrected that it was let us call it redeployment of Atahiru 3 years ago, then catapulted to Chief of Army Staff January this year. Does it say anything to you or not? Are you muted again?
Come again with your question, please.
Okay, my question is the Atahiru Ibrahim 3 years ago was redeployed away from being the head of military operations against Boko Haram. I said sacked, but I've since been corrected to say redeployed. But how do you see that? Because if he was redeployed, that means he wasn't competent at that time. That is the interpretation given to that redeployment by Nigerians.
No, it's not incompetence. Sometimes you can be deployed for exigency of duty. You can't remain one place for long. I don't know how many years he served there before he was removed. But one thing is that even 1 month, you can be in a place for 1 month, and the next thing you are off because there's something that they want to do somewhere else. It has happened to me on some occasions where you are posted somewhere within 6 months, does something happen, they take you out again for another assignment. So the military service is not something that you can say you'll be here for 5 years or 1 year. So you can be moved at any time. And the posting did not say he was sacked, it was only redeployed. And one thing I will tell you is that if he was sacked, he wouldn't have maybe met Chief of Army Staff because the record will be there. So I will take it that he was merely deployed. And another thing I will tell you again is that most times, some of these chiefs, sometimes, that operation, and Operation Pulusu, the one in Nigeria, most of the people that handles such responsibilities eventually becomes coerced. I don't know why, but because of the high level.
Eventually become what? Sorry, I didn't get that.
Chief of Army Staff.
Okay.
Like the former Chief of Army Staff was once there too. Was once the Joint Task Force and the commander and everything. So most times the level of experience that I've gathered from such areas of operation equally act to their advantage.
All right. So well, thank you. Let's take a few questions from the audience before we continue. We are now halfway through this discussion. Let's start from Tango Ugochukwu, please, who was also a retired military man. Tango, you can unmute yourself, please.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
My question will go to Ozoagu. Good evening, brother. You joined the army as a regular or short service. We're looking at you. You are too young to retire at that age. You retire. The question I'm asking, I left army 82. I served in the same place you mentioned. SIP Metropolis, Arakabarakarapa. Ikenwachukwu was our provost marshal. Major Kasai, who died in the was that after Onyeko took over for him. So even when I was in infantry, Buhari was my GOC for D. We went to Abeokuta from 9th Brigade, from Abeokuta to Lalante, on Bush's side. The picture is in 9th Brigade. You will be in 9th Brigade ICAP by now. So I'm not an officer, I'm other rank. But I was loved in the army. Kongi, Ajiji, Adamu Jeris. I was already at Adamu Jeris. So for the death of Atari, even here enemy died. But Nigerian army, I'm surprised to see most of our young people officers left army very early. You must have a reason to leave the army. So what I'm saying in question is that Nigerian army has problems. I pity for the man that died. He so rest in peace. But Nigerian army need a big reconstruction. As we're talking, Nigerian army is a system that is which me and you know that has problems. Like this aircraft of 18. I was watching a military police officer like you, who's supposed to be an investigator, complaining the pilot is young, is this. Expert is never young in his field. No expert is young. The lady that bring this airline to Enugu is a young lady. And that's early 30 on that or the young lady that pilot this man aircraft in Enugu airport. Expert has no age limit in expert. Even more younger self, more action. And the problem, one thing in aircraft, which me and you know, aircraft have control. The pilot does not start aircraft, mind you. No pilot starts aircraft. All this is control. The service logbook must be checked. Whether there was any report. Because the investigation was start, we go a lot of distance to know what really happened for that aircraft. The maintenance record first will be checked. If there is no bomb, if the brain boss didn't report any bomb explosion, then the investigation will come back from maintenance and lifeline of the aircraft, how the aircraft lived and how it was used. That one is a different issue. From recurring Atari for 3 years ago and bringing him back, the sign of Nigerian army is not working towards the system. It may be you lost seniority, that's why you left. Because when somebody is in a service, if you're not a short service and you lost seniority in any government service, your mind is no more there. You pursue your career elsewhere. So my other question to you is that Atari, I hear you praising him. He did so many funny things that's wrong. He left where there is war, killing your brothers and sisters, leading operation in down east, in south east, where the Boko Haram is in the north, in the bush, in the jungle. And you are calling him that his action is in the front, is ready.
All right. Okay, we thank you.
Cool it. Don't stop me, or I stop coming to your program. What I say stand for me. Or if you don't want me to hear me, I stop attending your program. What I'm saying now that Atari, why? Okay, now do you know what is going on now? There's a problem in bringing any for staff. The wise one are telling them now to bring the right for staff.
Sorry, we didn't get that. You said there is problem where? There's problem where?
Yes, they're having problem issue now among themselves. If you follow minutes, married, me and you know who is the next step to step into this.
We will get into that. Sorry, when I wanted to stop you, it's not that I want to cut off what you are saying, but there are issues we'll be discussing in the next 15 minutes, and I wouldn't want to jump that.
Okay, what I asking him that aircraft issue is saying, there's a lot of that. Yeah, the institution will take long because once they recover the brain boss and there's no sign of explosion, no bomb, then they enter into the maintenance and the lifeline of the aircraft. It may be somebody reported fault and they ignore his report. All will come in the investigation.
All right. Okay, we'll get to, we'll allow Mr. Ozoagu to respond to if he wants to, but let's also hear from Otumba.
He will respond.
Yes, let's also hear from Otumba Oseni before we go back to our guests to respond to some of the issues you have raised. Otumba, you can unmute yourself, sir.
Yeah, good evening all, and thank you very much, Dan. My take on this is very simple. I'm a public and political affairs commentator. I only comment on the public issues, matters arising, and so on and so forth. Let me start by saying our condolences and thoughts go to the family of all the dead soldiers. No exemption, no special greeting to anybody, because life is life. Whether one is a senior or junior, family now have to deal with one of their lost ones. Yeah. Having said this, I'm really surprised that far back 1966, when I tried to join Nigerian Air Force, later on I was not given an opportunity. Later on discovered that it's because of the people recruiting have collected money from some people they eventually picked up to serve. Why I make reference to that is just to tell you that this element of corruption and some other terrible things that are so permissive in our society in Nigeria hasn't gone away at all. It's still just there. And it's very sad to look at everybody in the face, right from the head of states, most of them, to the smallest person in Nigeria, that we are yet to start to deal with the cause and causes of our problem. In this case, like the Dan said, this is not the first time, second time, third time. I don't want to say the fourth time, but I know there's been three other similar occasions when Nigerian aircraft soldiers were killed. And most of them, you trace them back to incompetence, corruption, different kind of stupidity, incompetence that you cannot even explain to your children. And I'm also sorry to say, well, it could be part of our presentation today that the soldiers among us here, but if they want to be truthful and be honest with themselves, they will say it is very difficult to start talking about how much corruption is going on in the army. But also, we need to understand that the type of corruption we have in Nigeria is so endemic that you cannot separate it. In fact, somebody is selling pure water is ready to take bribe or to give bribe. And when you look at the huge amount of money that been earmarked to service the military service in Nigeria, is amount of money that has not been expended in some other countries in the world. And as we speak, we get nothing. Nigerians get nothing for all this amount of money. Where are those money going? It is also sad to note that the Boko Haram, the terrorists we are trying to fight, have more ammunition, have more capabilities. They even have more capacities. And they've been defeating our army. So I think we should be talking about this kind of problem and not romancing whether one was deployed before, one was removed before, and because it's all politics of corruption.
Yeah, we thank you.
I also quickly want to round up.
We thank you, Otumba. I'll call you up to let's not skip this point you have just made, because a lot of people feel it is germane. Even Tango also made reference to it. Mr. Ozoagu, to what extent has corruption within the armed forces contributed to all these frequent aircraft crashes we've been having?
I can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Well, the truth is that, yes, I can hear you. The truth is that, as I earlier said, you can't take away competent capacity and capability out of what has happened. And all those things goes with training. When there are issues with training, that is where the thing begins. As you know, in law, you cannot place something on nothing and accept it to stand. When people who are supposed to be well trained, the type of material and exposure we are not giving to them, that will tell at the long run. So one way or the other, all those things are embodiment of what we are seeing or what we are receiving. Corruption, yes. Competence, yes. Capability. Because it is the corruption or what have you that brings up the incompetent, as I told you. If where something is meant for, and those things were not provided as it's supposed to, then they begin to cut corners. And that is what becomes the order of the day. Issues will get this kind of issue.
We thank you very much, listeners. Let's remind again, we've been having Mr. Casmir Nwafor, who retired in the Nigerian Army as a captain, and Mr. Ozoagu Peter, who also retired from the Nigerian military as a captain. Incidentally, both of them now are legal practitioners. And so we're having them here today to discuss this topic, the death of Chief of Army Staff General Atahiru Ibrahim, implications for Nigerian military. Mr. Nwafor, to what extent do you think that corruption has been contributing to these frequent crashes we've been experiencing, that the Nigerian military have been experiencing till date?
Corruption, to me, has contributed to a very large extent. You know, when I was talking about before, I said that I mentioned about servicing equipment, equipment. We have very poor maintenance culture in the military, in our military. You know, we have I was there, and it is still there. We have very, very poor maintenance culture. You may report that this guy is having fault. Say, manage and go and come back. It's just like what you see in some private, all these public transport people. So we have that problem in the military. It's either that the money is not released, or the money is released and it goes somewhere else. So you see soldiers managing vehicles, and that mentality might have gone to be managing aircraft. You understand? So it is very, very appalling. We have a very big. The other day, starting about a month ago, before this was that he appeared before the House of Reps to answer questions on the equipment that money was released for, and he was saying that it was not under him for him to explain, and the other people will explain. And you know, we'll keep pushing the blame, pointing fingers here and there. So there is a big problem of corruption. You cannot remove it out of Nigerian army because or Nigerian military, because we're all in Nigeria.
Okay, let me quickly ask at this point: are we suspecting sabotage at this point, Mr. Ozoagu? Because of researching for this subject, I came across some news, though not verified, that some people may be suspecting sabotage. Did you come across that corrupt? If you did you view it as even remotely possible?
Mr. Elombah, sincerely speaking, I cannot answer to that question of sabotage or no sabotage. Because at this level, I can't tell you something that I cannot verify or something I cannot authoritatively say.
Of course, as a lawyer.
So for issue of sabotage, that's what I'm telling you. So issue of sabotage, and we'll leave it until such a time that the thing has come to the front burner. Then they should be able to establish to us. Because at this point in time, you are bound to hear different stories from different angles.
Okay, Mr. Nwafor, many
may turn out to be another thing at the end of the day.
All right.
So let me not preempt.
Okay. Mr. Nwafor, do you think is it remotely possible? I'm not saying to be sure, but is it remotely possible?
I was an investigator in Nigerian Army.
Yes, I remember you served in the Nigerian intelligence, military intelligence. Yeah.
I was there. I was in the NSA office. I was in the SFG office. Everything can happen. Anything can happen, my brother. If I were to investigate this case, I will put sabotage one. It will be there. You can even put competence, the issue of age of driving. You can even put maintenance, servicing equipment. Everything will be on the table. Why? Yes, sabotage one. Why we may say sabotage is the Chief of Army Staff involved in this matter. Since he came in, he took a very aggressive approach to the fight against insurgency. It was just last week, just the day before the death, or 2 days, that the heat was so much on Shekarau, as we had Shakao, and we had the story that maybe he blew himself or something. He has given a very big. He has taken the fight to these baggers in the Northeast. And then all of a sudden, there is this issue of go to South-South, go to Southeast. That was a big distraction. That was a very big distraction to the class. That movement to go and start, to go east, to go south, to go west, it was a very big distraction. I don't know how he took it. Then the military police provost marshal is a no-nonsense man, highly independent. It's not a person you can give any kind of legal order and follow you. These are officers that are very, very independent. So you can see ruling sabotage. Then another thing is that how we are dead treated after their death.
Yes, we'll come to that. In fact, let's move into that at this point.
I'm saying that this thing can equally lead you to issue of sabotage. Because if the class will die and people with him, and there was the flag flying half-mast was just announced yesterday. Nothing was done immediately. No address to the nation by the president. None of them was there at the burial. Not even the state governors. None of them was there at the burial. So when you look at all these things, somebody can be tempted to assume there is sabotage somewhere, but you're not concluding. I will leave everything to the investigators. I will leave everything to God.
Mr. Ozoagu, how do you feel as a former military officer? Is it usual for such caliber of the military leaders to die with such bereavement to the nation, and the president and commander-in-chief and the second in command did not attend the burial? I don't think you are right.
You know Nigeria now. I'm not in UK.
Oh God!
I mean, Nigeria. These are part of the things we are doing. We are trying to on the generator. Now the light is back.
Okay, go ahead.
These are some of those things we are saying. Corruption or no corruption, confidence and capability. That's what we see every day in, day out in Nigeria. And just as I told you, these are part of Nigerian system, and we just continue to find a way to lead this nation out of all these things, one way or the other, or to reduce it to the barest minimum. That's it. On the issue of death, see, we don't talk about that because it has come and gone. But on whether such caliber of officer that died, if the president commander-in-chief should come and must be there during his burial, again, it's neither here nor there, because it's not. There is no way it is stated in statute books that he must be there physically present. But as humanist angle, one expect that such a caliber of person and such a thing that happened will be there. It's just like the great chief of army staff who was going to passing out of the recruit in depot. It depends on the person, how he feels. Naturally, at that high rank is not even supposed to go for passing out parade of the recruit. If it is cadet, if it is our forces commander and staff college, it's okay. But he can delegate, but he feels that seeing him there, the recruits seeing him will give them more booster and encourage them to devote more time and put this into the nation. So the president commander-in-chief if as a human being feels that this thing is present there, he has not given us reason why we don't, why he was not there. He may have one or two other reasons that might have prevented him not to come. It can be medical reason, it can be some other reason. But what we know is that he has dedicated somebody, has assigned somebody who was there in the capacity of the president to represent him.
All right.
So, but on the other hand, as a human being, one would have expected.
Okay, let's quickly move on to the issue of successor. Right now, a successor have not been named. Do we have an acting chief of army staff at the moment? Any of you can pick up the question, please. Do we have?
We have the chief of policy and plans, Major General Ahanotu. So he's sort of deputy coas in civilian terms. So I think he's the one.
No, is it that you think? But is it official?
He is the one acting. He's not acting. He's the one acting for the coas now.
Right now.
Yes.
Mr. Ozoagu, what do you say?
Again, the choice of language is what I may not concur with. If you say the word acting, I may not completely say that is acting, because for that word acting to come, it must come by, as a lawyer, by way of proclamation or like appointment. And it's only incumbent on the president commander-in-chief to do that. But if you say overseeing,
yeah,
the army headquarters and what have you, then I can go by that. Because in the organogram of the army headquarters,
I understand what he's saying. The issue is that once the chief of army staff is out, the chief of policy and plans oversees the army affairs.
Because the appointment.
Your network is not being stable now, I think, Mr. Ozoagu. All right, but I think this may be controversial. Okay, Mr. Ozoagu, are you suddenly muted? What happened?
No, I don't know. I'm hearing you, but are you not hearing me?
No, we stopped hearing you at a point.
But can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now, definitely. But it appears your sound bandwidth is low. So let's clear this point. Yeah, the chief of army staff is not there. In the absence of the chief of army staff, who will step in to oversee the affairs of the Nigerian military, the army section of it, the affairs of the army? Who should step in? Mr. Nwafor.
I've answered that question for you.
Oh, okay, yeah. Sorry, you did.
The chief of policy and plans, Major Ahanotu.
Okay, but right now the president have not confirmed any acting. Okay.
No acting.
Okay, who is in the running to succeed the chief of army staff? Do we know?
We have 120 major generals in Nigeria. Any of them can be appointed.
But who are the likely? Who could be the likely successor?
We are talking about likely because we are talking about those who are the senior officers like Major Yusuf, Major Ali Kefi, Major Yahaya. So, but you shouldn't be surprised if the president goes down and picks somebody that is even very far below this we are mentioning. So it is the prerogative of the president to appoint. So that's why when people mention names like this, I laugh, because it does not hold water that the president must appoint the most senior or that he must appoint the most junior. There are things that you check. One is that you cannot be a coas in Nigeria if you have not held command office. If you have not held brigade command, GOC, there are some things they look at. Because you are commanding men, you must have had experience of commanding battalions troops. So those things matter. So those men generals who have not commanded battalions or brigades or who have not commanded divisions, that maybe on the other side, they are hardly given to us. So you have to go, you have to dance around those people who have gotten this experience I'm talking about.
Okay, Mr. Ozoagu, what do you say on this issue?
Just as Nwafor has rightly said, you see, the thing goes by regulation service, but it's not cast in stone that it must be. Okay, if take for example, when Lieutenant General Brutai was going, it was not the immediate junior to him that was appointed. The president went down and appointed some people. So, and just as I normally say, it is this appointment is solely on the prerogative of Mr. President, as the enforcing act have stated, Section 18, on the consultation with the Chief of Defense Staff. But it's so in doing so, there are certain things you put into consideration. The caliber of the officer. In the first instance, the certain books provide that it must be of a regular combatant commission, and it must be of a major general as the case may be. Must have attained certain so and so command experience and what have you. So all those things are what is placed on the front burner to come out to now painstakingly choose who among the best will emerge out to be the DC. Moreover, it is the God that crowns everything. So a lot of things are at stake. It's not something. It's not a permutation issue of one will say that it is also a second too.
All right. Well, thank you. Let's take a question from Mazi HTM Okoye, please. Can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Daniel. Thank you for the opportunity. This is a question that is related, but a bit, I'll go off on a tangent. But it's a question of whether the military, with what is going on in Nigeria, get to a certain point that they then come and take over power, like we have in Niger. Is that possible?
Mr. Ozoagu, did you get his question? If you do, can you respond?
No, I didn't get his question. I thought he was just making a comment. I never knew it's a question. Sorry. Let him come again.
Okay, Mazi, can you?
The question is that with the way Nigeria is, with the level of insecurity we have, with the level of mediocrity, with the level of incompetence we have, do you foresee a point in the future whereby a military junta will come in and grab power in a military coup like we have in Niger recently?
So far, so good. I don't foresee that. One, the world is embracing democracy, and everybody is tilting towards that. The democratic culture to which we have now is what we have fought sincerely to take away from the military. And since the military has gone back to the barracks, that is not the culture I knew from the military aspect when I left, and even from discussions from one or two people. Now they are obedient to civil authority and what have you. But what we should be fighting for is how to build our system to make it more better and perfect from what it is now. We'll continue to mutate, we continue to dance up and down, but on all these things, how do we improve on what we have? The military can only come when there are insurgents as they are now.
Okay, well, thank you. Sorry for coming in now because we'll soon be rounding up. My listeners will not forgive me if I finish this discussion without asking this question. I'm seeing the comments that are coming from Facebook. There is problem of insecurity in the Southeast. And right now, the Southeast are saying that when issues of security are being discussed in the highest level, there is no person from the Southeast sitting at the table where that discussion is being taken. Should President Buhari appoint someone from the Southeast as the next Chief of Army Staff? Mr. Nwafor.
My brother, I will tell you in honesty, as things stand now, and the person of Buhari that we know. I pray to Almighty God that no Igbo man should be appointed to Army staff.
Sorry, say again. Come again, please.
I pray to Almighty God.
Yes.
That no Igbo man should be appointed coerced for this man. As Nigeria stands now, and as Buhari as a person is, no Igbo man should even accept that position. The president is not ready to fight insurrection. What are you going there to do? Just answer him. You only work for somebody who is ready to give you free hand to work. The president is the cause of this security we are having. And you're appointing me as coerced. I won't take it. I'll resign and go home.
Mr. Ozoagu, what do you say?
You're talking about insurrection. You're talking about bandits. The man he has shown you by body language that he is their godfather. So even if they make you a coerce, you cannot achieve anything. I told him the last week when I came here that appointing the new service chiefs, nothing will change.
You said so when we were arguing about why hasn't Buhari changed their service chiefs?
The
Yes.
the governors of South Nigeria came and said they will stop open grazing. And the president is there, talking his own, countering it, fomenting trouble, telling these people to disobey the laws of state governors. And you tell me that this man will appoint me because and I will accept it. I won't. So any sensible Igbo man who is in the army should please resign immediately is appointed coerced, because he will be a failure. So I don't even go there. I don't even want to also go that area. Let him continue to appoint Abubakar and Mohammed. Let him continue to appoint them. Let no Igbo man go there and swallow his hand, because he will fail. The president you have cannot allow you to succeed as a service chief. Thank you. All right.
Mr. Ozoagu, what do you say to that question?
Elombah is a national issue. But permit me to say that as Shakespeare will say, there is no act of finding the man's construction on the face. You never can say what a human being can do at any given point in time. It's not arithmetic that 1 + 1 must be 2. This country belongs to all of us. If an Igbo man is given opportunity to be the coerce, I will advise to take it. He never can take. He may go there and make a change. You don't chicken out because of hearsay or something, certain thing that is But
I don't know why we started with a very good network, and your network.
Judge is God. I may tend to differ with. So what I'm saying that on this aspect, I may tend to differ with my colleague Casmir Nwafor. If any man is appointed, given the opportunity, it's a privilege. It's not a right. It's the president commander-in-chief that appoints. Let him go, accept it. He never can tell. He may make a change, and that may everything to him. Everything may be solved or sorted out. It has happened in certain instances, and we may not fail to happen this time around. Thank you.
All right. I have a question from a member of the audience who is in the meeting. He said, it has been reported from disgruntled service officers that the failure to apply the normal conventions in terms of length of service that should have applied has created an unhealthy bottleneck. Is it normal? That is one. I don't know whether do you agree with what I've read? If not, do you agree with that assertion?
I agree with what you said, but let me hear a question.
He said that it has been reported from disgruntled service chiefs that the failure to apply normal conventions in terms of length of service that should have applied has created an unhealthy bottleneck in the Nigerian military. Quickly, please, our time is running off. Do you agree?
I concur.
You concur. Thank you. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, why it is so is that if you look at the top is now heavy. In the army today, we may have, if I tell you we have up to 130 major generals, you may be surprised.
That is the second point from the questionnaire. The second question is it normal for the Nigerian army to have 67 or more major generals and 60 brigadier generals? Is it normal?
That question cannot be answered yes or no, because promotion and what have you depends on efficiency and capability. So it's not stereotyped, it's not etched in granite, neither is it cast in stone that it must be so and so. As the nation grows, in the years past, they may not be up to even 60, as the case may be. But as we continue to grow and expand, there will be need for such a thing to come. Then people are promoted to occupy various places. But what I'm saying is that as they are promoting, let them equally watch the people coming behind so that everything will be balanced and do not allow the up to be stagnant.
All right, well, thank you. Mr. Nwafor, please, the 2 points here.
Yeah. I quite agree that the overstate of service shift, this issue of extension. You know, when the former one before the disease was was there, they kept renewing. I will tell you, I don't think it got well with most of the senior officers, because as he was on the seat, they were retiring those who were even his juniors, and I don't think it was a good thing for the military, because what we are told is that in every 3 courses, at least every course, there's probably that they produce 1 course. So many courses did not produce course in their time during that era. Then on the issue of number of major generals, I don't think there's any particular number that is high or low. In short, by if we are to go by the international standard of army ranking and other things, we will even have more than 150.
All right. Okay.
We have about 9 lieutenant generals.
Okay, we have,
because we are still growing.
Mr. Nwafor, thank you very much. I'm sorry for my interjection because we have very few minutes remaining for this program. So let's quickly take the last 2 questions from Njenje Media and Otumba Osaini. First, Otumba Osaini, 1 minute, please. Can you unmute yourself, sir?
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Well, it's just a quick one. And it goes with the observation of the president not present at the funeral of these Nigerian soldiers that died. It shows also clearly the kind of people we are. It's here because the president is a replica of most Nigerians. It's just that we only want to be in power, but we do not want to exercise power to serve the people. And you need to understand what the world or other parts of the world are saying about that kind of situation, that military soldiers, and I refuse to acknowledge that one is sooner than the other, because life is life. Yes, in real life, the junior will take order from the senior. But as it is now, we lost 11 capable people in service. And our president, instead of going there, chose to go to a wedding ceremony. It shows how low, how stupid, I'm sorry to use that word, we are in Nigeria. Thank you.
All right, thank you. 1 minute. Thank you very much. Njenje Media, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Elombah, for having me. My question, well, not question, my comment actually goes to support what someone said, that if a service chief should be offered to someone from the Southeast, that should be rejected. And I think I tend to agree with that sentiment. I mean, obviously, we've basically been on the sideline for the past 6 years, and the mess is getting messier every single day. And, without being fearful of being dragged into something that you basically knew nothing about. But again, that's a sentiment. On the other hand, equally, as you rightly pointed out, people could actually argue that when you now refuse that, not to take part, it would then be akin to what later Moshood Abiola would always say, that akin to shaving people's head in their absence. That means decisions. That's why we might see what is happening in the Southeast today, where militarization of the region is currently occurring. Maybe one could argue, could that be as a result of us not being in that table where a decision is being made? Thank you.
Well, thank you. Finally, Tango, before we go back to our guests for their final conclusion. Tango, what's your quick comment, please? 1 minute. Can you unmute yourself, Mr. Gochuku, please?
Okay. Am I on mute now?
Yes.
Are you hearing me?
Yeah.
I will defend the president for not going the barrier. Because if security report said he should not go, he will not go. He's a president. I did it before. If a president or a senior man wants to go to a place and the security report on that place is not safe for that person to go there, he will not move.
All right.
He will sign the security report. And the other one about Putin appointing Ibrahim as we are playing game of trust now. Mistrust is everywhere. Because of this mistrust, that's the problem we have. And you will continue bringing wrong people at the right job. We're not talking of merit again, or merit in the army, or merit system in Nigeria. That who no man who will I appoint. Even a politician can delay an officer promotion, even in police. I have a brother who's a policeman. A big man in my town, tell him he will not be promoted, and he wasn't promoted. He could have bent down on the camera and beg the man. So see the type of Nigeria we are. That's why we come up to fight this injustice. We are not radical. I'm not at my age, I'm 64. I cannot be a radical at this age. But we are fighting injustice. Nigeria's situation doesn't need more pretenders. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much, our listeners. Let's go back to our guests, please. Our topic is the death of the Chief of Army Staff. What is the implication on the Nigerian military? To sum up, Mr. Nwafor, what would you say would be the effect on the Nigerian military as a whole, the death of the Chief of Army Staff?
Like I said, it has already started a fight to impact negatively on the fight against the insurgency that the former COAS was geared towards fighting before all this issue of Southeast South distraction came in. And now that it's not there, you see politics, they're lobbying for COAS, lobbying. So things will be at, so for some time now, things will be at low levels because people are not doing their job, they'll be busy making phone calls, visiting and other things. So you see the work will slow down a bit until you get the next COAS. And another thing is that, he just came in January this year. And maybe some appointments have been made. Some who are appointed may be afraid now they are not even going to go. Once the new COAS comes, they will do appointment. So there is a kind of instability in the army for now until there is a COAS. Then who will now try to stabilize things? Because no matter how you look at it, as long as there is no head, even when there is a overseer, there is not much he can do because even himself will be trying to be careful. But he doesn't know that it is the person that is going to deal with tomorrow will become the COAS. So I think the earlier they appoint the COAS, the better for the army. Because to me, it is slowing down things.
Now that you have raised this topic, isn't it shocking? What should it take 24 hours to appoint a replacement? Yes. Especially with the state of insecurity Nigeria is experiencing. Should it take more than 24 hours to appoint a replacement Chief of Army Staff?
Well, because of the nature of the death, if the man was sick and then from sickness he died, they can immediately, but because of the way the death came, but even at that, if it were head of state, because if head of state, they have their own constitutional provision of taking over. Just like when your daughter died.
Okay.
But in the army, we don't have it like that. The head of state has to look at the nominees. Excuse me. You will look at nominees and look at their background. So it takes time.
All right. So thank you. Our time is almost up. Please, sorry.
To make appointments.
Mr. Ozoagu, your summation. What is the effect on? What could be the effect on the Nigerian military, the sudden death of the Chief of Army Staff?
It's not only on Nigerian military, but the effect on the entire polity in Nigeria. The effect is that there are going to be a growth of insecurity. And insecurity leads to many things. If I tell you what has happened within from Saturday that this thing happened on Friday, many things, as I'm talking to you, the news I receive from my village in Iwologe was that the police station there was attacked by unknown gunmen. Police people killed, the police station was burnt. And those people came in with cars and what have you, unknown gunmen. So these are the type of things we'll be expecting to see now, especially these days. And this thing will lead to ultimate what? Hunger. There is hunger in the land because of insecurity. People can no longer farm. The food that we expect to come from the north are no longer coming. Those ones from the east, you don't see them. Those ones from the other side, and the seas continue. The atmosphere is not conducive for anything. On a final note, I will advise that the earlier the new chief is appointed, the better it will be for all of us, because that will douse the temple. And to answer, the army is not a democratic institution where it is stated in there that a president goes with his vice. If something happens, it becomes automatic. And that was why I was telling you, I don't want to use the word acting when you are talking about acting coerce or no acting coerce. So the earlier the new chief of army staff is appointed, the better it will be for all of us. The tempo will douse and everything. You see people, things going on in the normal way as it's supposed. I thank you, Mr. Elombah, for this opportunity.
I thank you very much, Mr. Peter Ozoagu Esq, a retired captain in the Nigerian military and now a legal practitioner. Thank you for being with us tonight. I also thank you, Mr. Nwafor Chinonso, also a retired captain in the Nigerian military and also now a legal practitioner based in Nigeria. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.